What's it like to be an icon?
I don't know what an icon is. I mean, you just do. And people just I have no idea about what that is. I just do things. And all my life, I've failed a lot of times. Every time I keep going. I mean, I'm finishing with this book tour in New York, and then I got something new I want to do. Things are happening so fast, you know, that you just have to keep going, you know, and I kind of like that.
Yeah, but
and I don't feel like an icon. I think when we started The Bitter End, nobody knew these people were going to be. I never knew that when I managed Bill Cosby or Neil Diamond, they were going to be billionaires. You know, we all had no money. Nobody talked about money. The 60s were wonderful. I mean, I come back here. I came in the other day for the first time in 25 years, and it was so nostalgic for me. I mean, I just remembered how wonderful the 60s were. There was all this camaraderie among the Ikes. Some of them will be here tonight. And it's really wonderful. I don't consider myself somebody who worked, who helped the careers, but the people who made it, they made it themselves. Woody Allen, he was a great talent. I mean, Judy Collins, brilliant. You know, it's hard to say that you were there to help, but some of them, I was there to help. But think of those who didn't make it, and then of course the sad ones are the ones I managed, who died. You know, I mean, managed Richie Pryor and Naomi Cohen, who became Cass Elliot. You know, and a lot of people died from that period. So mainly the ones who made it really had the talent and they had the perseverance. The last line on a yacht in England was that the rope that attaches just before you let go at the wharf, and it's called The Bitter End. And that's how the name became. I liked it, and that's what we did.
I was at the Hootenannies at the Cafe What! Exclamation point. You left out the exclamation point. Manny Roth, the first person.
Wonderful.
He's a great guy. Is he a great guy?
Wonderful.
He paid me $15 to perform for some people. I was a kid. It was the most thrilling thing. So I used to go to the Hootenannies. I was a substitute teacher after the Yale Drama School for a few months, waiting for something to happen. And I did great over there. He said, you know what? You need a better hootenanny. Go over to The Bitter End. Freddie Weintraub, I'm going to call him, and you do the hootenanny. And I did 2 weeks here, 3 weeks, where I had such a 6-minute bit about substitute teaching. Killed him! Killed him! This guy who used to be 7'9", right? He was so imposing. The picture with the Dutchman's hat on, you know. And I was over 6 feet, but he looked, you know, as the Weintraub. He takes me out, leans me against a car, and he says, where are you? Where you come from? You have management? I said, no, I killed him 3 times here. I want to get booked. 4th week, I come down. 5th week, I had no technique. And that's the last I ever saw of Fred Weintraub. Next thing I see him, Fred Weintraub, and of course, that's it.
F-R-E-D spells Fred every time. F-R-E-D spells Fred every time. Let's sing a chorus of his last name. We would get it down. Here we go now. W-E-I-N-T-R-A-U-B. W-E-I-N-T-R-A-U-B. That's close enough for sympathy. Well, when Eric Weisberg used to come down here and play his banjo before delivery.
David Fields. I am the co-author with Fred. I actually wrote most of the book over Skype. I would record our interviews, so I have dozens of hours of us talking, which meant I didn't have to write it all down and could go back. It was great because I found what it was about Fred that so many people that worked with him talked about, which is his boundless enthusiasm and his just amazing support of performers. And I got it as a writer because I'm more of a script writer. We were introduced about 12 years ago by a mutual friend, Linda Palmer, who is a writer in her own right, and but she's also the former wife of Ted Ashley, Fred's best friend. And I had met her at UCLA, where she was teaching an extension course in screenwriting. And she knew that Fred was always looking for someone to write these memoirs that people were urging him to do for so many years, and she thought we might hit it off. And I interviewed him for like an hour, did like 10 pages just as a sample. Nothing came of it, but Fred hired me to do some screenwriting for him. So I did some script doctoring and then wrote a couple of other scripts which are sitting safely on a shelf somewhere. But then about 2 years ago, he contacted me to talk about a couple of other little projects which we kicked around. And then he said, "Listen, I've been trying to write my memoirs. I've worked with some writers. I just didn't like them. Didn't work out. Would you be interested in working on it with me?" And I said, "Fred." That's how we met 10 years ago.
He was an unbelievable entrepreneur, and he was so helpful to my career. When we came here as this sort of an Allen and Greer comedy act, and he nurtured us. He let us play here. We opened for hundreds of acts, and then when I came back from the Army, he was managing me. He was my manager, and he was a really supportive guy. He developed so many acts. I mean, he developed the Serendipity Singers and the Bitter End Singers and the Pickle Brothers. They'll be here tonight. It's a comedy act, and he put me together with Joan Rivers and this guy Jim Cannell. Basically, it was supposed to be sort of something like the Reviewers. He's very respectful of talent. He was always very respectful and always trying to put things together like soup, kind of, or like a stew. He kind of mix us all together and come up with some new thing. And he did quite a few of those and very successful. The Serendipity Singers were extremely successful. Jim, Jake, and Joan would have been successful if we could have agreed on what to do.
And all the artists that I knew who were in any stage of their development came here to perform. And of course it was the place to come. It kind of brought everybody together at the Bitter End. Now, he was such a good guy. He loved the artists here. He supported us. He paid us. I made a huge amount of money here. Just an enormous amount. I was just saying to him, it was $250. I think, that was just a fortune in those days. I worked here. I got exposed to so many wonderful people, but mostly to Fred, and he made a deep impression on me. So I'm sitting in front of my keyboard writing my book, which is named Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, after the song that Stephen Stills wrote after me. And I thought, I've got to call him. I have a number of friends who would have known how to reach out to Fred, people in the movie business and the music business. And the phone rang, and it was Fred. And he said, we haven't seen each other for many, many, many decades. And I just want to tell you, he was writing his book. That's why he was calling me, and I was writing my book. Now, I began reading his book, which I adore. It's full of the stories of somebody with so much imagination and so much love of music and of artists, and of course the movies. We loved the movies. And Fred, of course, will tell you a lot of these stories.
Great being at the Bitter End. It was a lot of people hung out here, outside, everything. It was really, it was home. It was really home away from home.
The biggest cameras first. Street signs.